Welcome to another week of comic art fans data that you never knew you needed, but you're going to hear it anyway. This is going to cover the week of August 3rd through August 9th. As usual, there are around 1,600 new pieces of artwork added to CAF, which is, of course, very consistent, so we're not even going to talk about that anymore. We could talk about the big news of the week, which was all the DC layoffs, but that's just too disappointing and could lead to the broader conversations about the future of comics and comic art collecting in general. I think that's something better left to one of our Comic Art Live panels that we do on Tuesdays, so that's not something that I'm going to really touch on, other than it really affects me when people I know lose their jobs for any reason, and I really hope that the people that are in that position land on their feet. That hopefully there's opportunities out there as people continue to find their way through the mess that we've been in for the last several months, and I'm really pulling for all of them. So as it goes with CAF, I'm going to save the featured art for the last part of the chat today, and just kind of focus in on dealers and art sales like I usually do, both of which were down by a substantial amount this past in this period over the prior one. Dealers only sold $175,000 worth of art, and that's down from $291,000 on the report period prior to that. And I think it was just there weren't as many art drops. And one thing that always happens in August, of course, is it's a big European holiday. I think maybe there's a little bit of a lax attitude about doing art drops in the beginning of August, so that might play a part in all of that. Felix did lead the charge with over $50,000 in sales, and he was followed by both Ramita Man and Panel Page, who sold in the $30,000 range. The number one selling artwork for the week was a Jim Starlin DPS that was sold by Panel Page, and it had a asking price of $20,000 when it sold. It was a nice Drax versus Thanos battle page. And next up is a cover also sold by Panel Page that was sold for $5K. It is a Silver Surfer annual #1 cover by someone you've probably never heard of, Mike Higgins. Higgins was more of a editor for Marvel and not as much a penciler, but he did so on that particular cover. There was the Ryan Stegman Venom #10 cover sold by Felix that had an asking price of $5,000. That's kind of the average range for most of Ryan's covers. Some can be higher, some can be lower. There was also a Chris Stevens Batman Superman commission that was sold through Felix's site, and it had a asking price, or a official price since it was a commission, of $4,500. And last but not least, there was a Call of Atlantis page by Barry Windsor-Smith sold by Ramita Man for $4,000. So in general, there just weren't a lot of high-ticket items on the dealer side, which isn't unusual. We've just been probably overstimulated by the amount of higher than $20,000 sales. Somehow I knew I was going to get interrupted by a mainframe Comic-Con call, and I should have turned my ringer off. Sorry about that. More on that in a little bit. So just getting back to our reports, the auction houses were also down week over week. This week their total sales were $237,000 as opposed to $261,000 the report prior to that. Just a lot of very average pages on both Heritage and eBay during this August 2nd or August 3rd through August 9th period. So over on Heritage, a Steve Dillon Preacher page sold for $3,600. That's actually the high end on a Dillon Preacher page, which always typically sell in that $2,500 average range nowadays. So that was actually a pretty good price realized for that. A Superman 253 page 7 sold for $2,880. That was by Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson. It was actually a really nice page, and that's about the going rate for good pages from their work together on Superman. And then there was this 9-page complete Vampire Tale story by artist Billy Graham that sold for $2,640. So just not a lot of high ticket items over on Heritage, and normally there aren't, but typically we'll see 2 or 3 pieces finish over 5 or in that 4,500 and up range, and there just wasn't anything close to that this time around. And eBay was very similar in that the highest sale of the week was a Wendy PINI ElfQuest piece from 1978, which is the same year ElfQuest hit the stands. I'm not sure what the character painting was for, but it did sell for $3,938. Next up was actually 2 pages from Ninja Turtles, and both those pages sold for $3,750. And then actually a really decent Action Comics page by John Byrne from issue 595, page 18. It sold for $2,225, and that's actually the highest price in either our auction house market data or our dealer market data for a John Byrne Action Comics page. So that's a decent sale price. But again, no high ticket items, no surprise buy it now sales during the week. Like I'll tend to get at least a couple of those that would fall into a high area, but not a single one this time. So as far as current auctions go that are out there, Comic Connect has their latest event auction ongoing right now, and it does end on August 24th. The other important auction that just started yesterday was Comic Link's Summer Featured Auction, and their auction actually ends on September 1st. And back to the Mainframe Comic-Con, that show is actually having a preview night tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, and then their show starts in earnest tomorrow, Saturday, the 14th, or I'm sorry, the 15th at noon, and it pretty much runs all the way through until 10 p.m. on Sunday. They have 4 different panel tracks. It's really loaded with artists and writers and some of the top comics today. It's going to be a really good show. We helped with the exhibitor programming. Those links will be out there. They'll be a part of the description below so that you can go out and check out the show this weekend. You know, they got a really good write-up on the Hollywood Reporter today, so it's going to be an interesting weekend for sure, and I'll be sitting back just kind of watching everything as it goes, since fortunately for me, I don't have anything to do with that show after it's gotten started. We were only involved in the programming. Of course, then the next big show on our calendar will be Comic Art Live, November 14th to 15th. Block that weekend out. Don't do anything. Don't take any early Thanksgiving vacations. Just plan on being there for Comic Art Live. I can guarantee you it's going to be a very exciting weekend, far better than the last one, which I think went over pretty well. So with that in mind, let's get into the featured art. There were you know, some really incredible pieces, but one of my favorite pieces is going to be, well, I won't even tell you. Let's just start looking at the video right now, and we'll see how things shake out, and maybe you can guess which was my favorite piece. Alright, first up is this great Fantastic Four number 93 page by Jack Kirby and Frank Giacoia. You cannot fault Giacoia for not putting in Kirby's detail. That's a beautiful page. Next up is this classic Doctor Strange cover from none other than Mike Mignola. This is a very early work for Mignola. I love his fluid lines during this style, and of course his signature is pretty incredible too. This is a John Byrne Fantastic Four page from issue 236, so very early in the Byrne run. This is a really awesome period for John Byrne's work, in my opinion. Now this is a Wally Wood Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine double page illustration, and Wally did a lot of these spot illustrations in science fiction periodicals during this time in the early 1960s. Up next is a 2000 AD Slain page by Glenn Fabry. You know, Glenn makes the grotesque look beautiful, doesn't he? He's fantastic at that. And of course, this is a Fantastic Four annual number 14 page by George Perez and Pablo Marcos. Very typical for Perez, lots of detail, lots of characters. Now next up is this great Barry Windsor-Smith Conan Saga number 1 page. It's actually the cover, sorry about that, owned by Glenn Crane. It's a fabulous piece. This is a Paul Pope commission of Spider-Man versus Morbius. Of course, Spider-Man's got his 6 arms, so he looks pretty crazy, but Paul does a great job at it. And this is a Joe Quesada, Danny Mickey, Captain America number 1 cover. And of course, Quesada always has great inking work on his pieces, and it brings out all the detail he puts into them. This is a Sandman Opus cover by the great P. Craig Russell. This cover is in color and it is fabulous. Up next from the collection of Paul P. is this amazing Spider-Man cover. It's by Ryan Stegman. Lots of humor in this piece, of course, as the Spider-Man family defeats Lizard. And this is a Darth Vader commission by Raphael Grampa from the collection of Han P. Han is a prolific Star Wars collector, and that's a great piece. Next up is this Tony Daniel Detective Comics cover featuring Penguin and Batman. Very cool, very frightening, in your face. And finally, a cover by Howard Porter and John Dell for The Ray. This is from issue 15 and got a lot of comments, so it's a popular piece. Alright, well, if you couldn't guess, my favorite piece was the Barry Windsor-Smith Conan piece. I mean, I'm a sucker for any color work done by Barry. That Conan piece is just absolutely incredible. Glenn Crane should be really pleased to have that piece in his collection, and yeah, it's a beauty. I mean, that's it's a classic character by a classic artist whose work you can't help but admire, and he's been somebody that in a weird way, you don't get to see a lot of fresh work like that come to market. And I mean, I know it's not a new piece, but the thing is, you hadn't seen it on the market in a while, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So, ending things right now, I just want to let you know that next week we will do something live rather than doing a recorded event. I haven't picked a time yet. I was actually thinking I'd want to do it early Saturday afternoon so I could get some people to possibly be able to watch it live in Europe, as well as being able to kind of time it well so that people on the West Coast and East Coast would be able to tune in as well. We'll see. It's either that or I'll do it in an evening during the week, maybe Thursday evening or maybe Wednesday evening. I haven't decided yet, but I'll let everybody know by Monday what I plan on doing, when we're going to do it. So please take take a look at the description below this video and follow the link back to CAF so you can check out all the art in more detail that we've talked about today, and I look forward to talking with you again next week live. Take it easy. Go to Mainframe tonight.